This video is part 1 of Basic Shape Drawing for Illustrator Project 2. The first thing you'll need to do is to open a new project as a letter size, and again you can type in either the values as you did in InDesign or just choose the size letter, and making certain that it is oriented to portrait. The first shape we will need to make will be the sphere. Do go ahead though and just click to create a text box, and we'll make it centered. I used Myriad Pro Bold, I believe 48 point is what the handout tells you. And you can go ahead and put your name if you'd like. I would choose a smaller type size, something like 18. There. Then with the selection arrow, you can move it into position. Now, as I said, the first shape we'll do is a sphere. We will go to the rectangle tool and find the ellipse. And all you have to do is simply, as you click and drag, hold the Shift key. I believe we did this in InDesign. Then go to your gradient window, click on the gradient, and then go to linear. I showed you how to do this in the blob brush tool, how to change the direction of the radial fill or the linear fill, depending on what type you're using. If you want to get rid of a color or add a color, you simply click right below the line to add one, or drag to take away. You can click, hold, drag to do that. Now that pretty much is your sphere. Now as far as the shadow, there are a couple of ways you can do this. The one that I showed you in the handout is to draw another ellipse and then use the linear blend. Then we'll reverse the blend, and I will actually draw this center blend point out. Then arrange, send to back. Now the other way I believe I may have mentioned is that you can fill this with just black and then go to Effects, Stylize, Drop Shadow. I'm sorry, not Drop Shadow. Do a feather. And let's click the Preview button to see what happens. And then you can increase that. Now you'll notice how that has created a different type of shadow. So you may do either type for this. That's pretty straightforward. Now the second shape we want to do is the cone. Again, we're going to use the ellipse. We will click, hold, drag, and ellipse. You don't need the Shift key in this instance. Then we'll go to the direct select and click the upper center point. And I will hold the Shift key as I drag it upward, and that will create a rounded cone shape. But if we go to the pen tool, you will find at the very bottom of the pen tool, when we click and hold, the Convert Anchor Point. Now all we have to do is click on the ends of those handles and go back to the, I use the A key to go back to the direct select. Then you can hold the Shift C, if you'll notice, Shift C will get you back to your Convert Anchor Point, and you can remove that. And sometimes you'll get these little error messages if you're not right on the handle. Here we'll use a linear blend in the gradient, which it is that way. We'll reverse it. Then again with the gradient tool, we'll click, hold, drag to fill it. I will actually go off the shape a little bit so that it's not just completely white in the shape. There, I like that better. Now here I'm going to freehand go back to that Convert Anchor and find the pen tool. In this instance I'm just going to create a shadow freehand, just kind of a triangular shape. Again, filling it with the radial is fine, the linear is fine, but I do need to reverse it, and then with the gradient tool, click, hold, drag to create a gradient shadow, then Object, Arrange, Send to Back. and that should suffice for a shadow. Now, the next shape will be the cylinder. And now the cylinder is one of those shapes that has a few more components than the last two. So what I'm going to do is create an ellipse without the shift key being held down. So we have one. Then I'm going to click on the shape with the selection arrow, and as I drag it, hold the shift and the option or alt key down. That will allow you to drag it. Now if you're on an IBM and that doesn't work for you, simply click on it, do edit copy, and then edit paste in front, and then drag it over with the shift key held down. So paste in front, and then click, and as you're dragging it, hold the shift key down. So actually I have two copies now, and I can just delete one of them. Now go back to the ellipse tool and get the rectangular tool, and click at the lower edge of either the right or left ellipse, and drag to the middle so that you have a rectangle that's exactly over the middles, between the middles of the two. Now one of these we're not going to join with a rectangle, so we'll bring this one to the front. Now we may have to rearrange this again, but I'll go ahead and bring it to the front. So you see how we have one end of the cylinder already created, but by click, hold, drag to select this ellipse and that rectangle, we can then go to the Pathfinder. Now the Pathfinder is currently open, as you see the check mark, and it's right here. And the first one we want is Unite. So we click Unite, and notice how that now there's no longer an ellipse and a rectangle, there's just that half or end of the cylinder. Now with the gradient tool again, I'm going to click, hold, and drag upward. First let me select the shape, and then click, hold, drag. And again I'm going to click, hold, drag off the shape a little bit. And I think I like the way this end looks, so I'm going to leave that. Now with the cylinder shadow, I will most likely freehand that again, as I did before. Now you can copy these, duplicate, and then do what's called a shear, but that's a little bit complex, so I don't think I'll go into that right now. So I've got the pen tool again. I'm just going to click, and instead of just clicking and letting go, I'm going to click, hold, and drag just a little bit to give it kind of a curve. Then with the option key held down, I'm going to click right back on the point to remove one of those handles. Then with the shift key, I'm going to click over, move over, and then click with the shift key held down so that that is now a horizontal line, and then click to close. Now with the gradient tool, I'm going to go ahead and create the blend of a shape, and then send this to the back, popping with the white a little bit. You can also drag that end and bring it in a little bit. So that might be a little more accurate shadow. Lastly, the last piece I'm going to actually put into a separate video because it's a little bit complex and I don't want to bog this video down with that. So I'll start that one next.